The night pressed against the windows like something alive, breathing softly in the cracks. I sat alone in my apartment, every light turned off except the dim lamp on the desk, a single, tired glow fighting an ocean of darkness. My phone lay face down beside me. I'd been staring at it for so long that the outline burned into my vision. I wasn't waiting for a message. I was waiting for a ghost. Her ghost. Every memory of her felt like a hand around my throat, gentle enough not to kill, firm enough not to let me breathe. I ran my fingers along the edge of the table, trying to steady myself as the silence around me grew heavier, thicker. It was strange how quickly a person could become unreal. She had once filled every corner of my life, her voice, her scent, her laughter echoing even when she wasn't there. Now it was as if the universe had swallowed her whole, leaving me with only the outlines of things that used to matter. And then, the first sound, a soft knock. Barely audible, almost polite. I froze in place. No one visited me anymore. Nobody had a reason to. The knock came again, quiet, rhythmic, familiar in a way that made my skin prickle. My breath caught in my lungs. It was her knock. The one she used when her hands were full, when she leaned her head against the doorframe and smiled before I opened it, when she whispered my name like it meant something. But she was gone. Long gone. I stood slowly, every muscle in my body wound tight. The room felt colder, the shadows stretching across the floor like long, skeletal fingers. I stepped toward the door, each footstep impossibly loud in the suffocating silence. Another knock, just one this time. Soft, cautious. As if the person on the other side was afraid of breaking. I reached the door. My hand hovered above the handle, shaking despite every effort to control it. My breaths came shallow, shaky, uneven. A part of me knew absolutely that there was no reason to open it. And yet, the air behind me shifted. A whisper of movement. Cold. I turned, just enough to catch it, something slipping across the room, barely visible, like a ripple of shadow brushing the corner of my vision. My heartbeat stumbled. The knock stopped, but something else began. A quiet hum, low, broken, melodic. The same melody she used to hum when she thought I was asleep. I felt my knees weaken. She was everywhere. And nowhere. And the darkness in the room seemed to pulse, as if it was listening. I gripped the doorknob with trembling fingers. Then I heard her voice, right behind me. Soft, close, almost touching my ear. Why didn't you save me? My blood turned to ice. The room tilted, or maybe it was just me. Her voice still lingered in the air, thin and trembling, like a strand of cold breath stretched too far. I didn't dare turn around. Every instinct screamed that if I truly looked, I wouldn't see her the way I remembered. I'd see something wearing her shape. The humming had stopped. The silence grew thick again, but now it felt alive, like it had weight, like it was waiting for me to move. My hand slipped from the doorknob. I forced myself to swallow, but my throat fought back, tightening her on every breath. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to steady myself, but all I saw behind my eyelids was her standing in the rain. Her hair stuck to her face, mascara mixing with tears, whispering things I didn't understand until it was too late. Why didn't you save me? The words replayed in a loop, each repetition twisting deeper, like a knife sinking into old scars. My voice cracked when I finally managed to speak. You weren't calling me. You never asked. You just left. Silence. Then footsteps. Slow, barely audible, coming from behind me. No, around me, everywhere at once. As if she were circling, as if she were choosing the best angle from which to break me. The air turned colder. My breath fogged in front of me. Left? Her voice whispered, drifting across the room like smoke. You think I left? I turned sharply, but the corner I faced was empty. Only shadows, deep, tangled, unmoving. But I felt her there. A fingertip grazed the back of my neck, light as a memory. My entire body jerked, but I couldn't move away. The cold touch rooted me to the floor. I beg you, she breathed. You just didn't hear me. The lights flickered. The lamp on the desk buzzed, then dimmed, then flared back to life weakly. The air vibrated with a sound I couldn't place, like something scratching at the walls from the inside. I took a step backward, my shaky legs barely obeying. The room shifted with me, as if the shadows leaned closer. "You're not real," I muttered. "You're not," but before I could finish, the phone on my desk lit up, a notification. Just one. From her old number. The one that had been disconnected. Deleted. Gone. My chest caved in as I stared at the screen glowing in the darkness. One new voice message. The edges of my vision blurred. My body moved on its own, dragging me toward the phone like a tide pulling me under. My hand hovered above it, trembling so hard I nearly dropped it when I picked it up. The play button paused. I didn't want to hear it, but I couldn't stop myself. I pressed it. At first only static. Then breathing, shallow, fast, wet with tears. Then her voice, shaking, desperate, breaking with every word. "Please, please open the door. I don't want to die tonight." My heart stopped because I remembered that night. Remembered hearing something outside. A knock I ignored. I thought it was the wind, but the voice message was still playing. Her sobs growing louder, panic rising, until it filled the room like a scream trapped inside a bottle. Then the last line came, broken and fading. "Why won't you save me?" The message cut. Silence swallowed the room. But behind me, right against my shoulder, I heard her answer herself. A whisper, trembling and furious. "You heard me. You just didn't care." The phone slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a dull crack, but I barely heard it. My ears were filled with the echo of her voice, looping in my skull like a siren trapped underwater. "Please, open the door." My pulse pounded so violently, it felt like my ribs were going to split. I staggered back until my shoulders hit the wall. The drywall shuddered behind me as though something inside it had been waiting for me to lean close. I squeezed my eyes shut. If I didn't look, maybe the room would return to normal. Maybe the air wouldn't feel so thick. Maybe her voice would stop curling around my spine like a cold hand. But the darkness behind my eyelids twisted, and suddenly it wasn't darkness at all. It was that night. Rain hammering the ground like nails. A figure outside my window. A tiny, broken knock I told myself was a branch. I opened my eyes. The room came back into focus. But the memory didn't fade. It clung to me like damp clothes that refused to dry. A soft thud came from the hallway. Then another. Then footsteps, slow and even, dragging slightly on the wooden floorboards. They moved closer, each step deliberate, as if the person taking them wasn't in a hurry, as if they already knew I wouldn't run. My breath caught in my throat. "Don't do this," I whispered, though I didn't even know who I was speaking to. The house. The memory. Her. The footsteps stopped right outside my room. The doorknob twitched. Metal clicked softly, as though someone on the other side was testing it, pressing their fingers against the handle, feeling it, deciding whether to twist. I stared at the door, every muscle in my body tightening. The air thinned, leaving my lungs empty and burning. The doorknob turned, just a fraction, a slow, trembling rotation. My chest seized. My voice froze. The door opened 2 centimeters, just enough for darkness to spill in like liquid shadow. I couldn't see anything beyond it, but I felt her, that familiar cold, the one that seeped into your bones and made you remember every mistake you ever buried. The kind of cold that wasn't weather, it was presence. My throat burned as I whispered, "What do you want?" Silence. Then a voice so close it felt like it was spoken directly into my ear, though the doorway was across the room. A chance. A chill crawled up my spine. A chance for what? The answer came after a long, shaking breath. Hers or mine? I couldn't tell. "To show you how it felt." The door opened wider with a slow groan, revealing the hallway swallowed in darkness. Something shifted in the blackness. A figure, faint, barely a shape, but unmistakably human. My legs moved before I could think. I lunged toward the nearest lamp, gripping it like a weapon, my hand slipping with sweat. The figure in the doorway didn't move, but I felt it smile, not with lips or teeth. There was no face. It smiled with presence, with the heaviness in the air, with the knowledge that it had me cornered, trembling, choking on every memory I'd tried to forget. The hallway lights flickered once, twice, then all of them snapped off at the same time. Darkness swallowed everything, and in that pitch black, her voice whispered, not from the doorway, not from behind me, but from inside my own chest. You ignored me once. Don't ignore me again. The darkness didn't feel empty. It felt occupied. Thick, breathing, conscious. I froze in the middle of the room, the lamp clenched in my hand like a child gripping a stick in a forest full of wolves. My heartbeat was so loud the silence between each thud felt like it was waiting to be filled by something else, some whisper, some movement, some touch, but nothing happened. Not at first. Then the air shifted just barely, like someone brushing past me in a crowded hallway. A cold draft skimmed across the back of my neck. My skin tightened, every pore rising in warning. I spun around, swinging the lamp wildly through the air. It hit nothing, but in the dark, I heard her voice, closer now, almost gentle. You always turned away from me. My throat closed. I forced out a hoarse whisper. Stop it. Just stop. A soft laugh, thin, brittle, like cracked glass being breathed through. The room snapped with a faint sound. A tiny click. The door behind me, my closet, creaked open by a few inches. I stared at it, my pulse slamming like it wanted out of my chest. I had closed that door earlier. I remembered closing it. I remembered hearing the latch catch. But now, a thin sliver of deeper darkness leaked from the crack, darker than the rest of the room. Wrong, heavy. Like it wasn't a closet at all, it was an entrance to something else. The laugh came again. This time from inside the closet. The lamp shook in my hand. Don't, I whispered, though I didn't know if I meant don't speak or don't come out. A pale outline appeared in the crack. Not a face, not eyes, just the faint suggestion of a shoulder. I had tilted unnaturally, as though whoever stood inside had been waiting too long and had forgotten how to hold themselves upright. I staggered backward, breath slicing my throat. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. The vibration ripped through the silence like a scream. I grabbed it with shaking fingers, desperate for any anchor to reality. The screen lit up my face with a cold, wet glow. A notification. One new voicemail from a number I hadn't saved in years. Her number. My blood iced. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew I shouldn't have, but my thumb moved on its own. The message started with a windy static, like the recording had been made outside, in some wide-open place where sound got swallowed by emptiness. Then her voice. Why didn't you ever help me? The closet door creaked wider. But you could have. The recording continued. You were right there. You heard me. My breath hitched. I remembered that night. The rain, the knock, the shape outside. My terrified refusal to open the window. Telling myself it was a branch. Telling myself no one needed me. Her voice sharp and breaking, shaking, furious and grieving at the same time. You let me die alone. The message ended. Silence swallowed the room again. My knees buckled, and I held onto the edge of the bed to keep from collapsing. The phone dinned, the light fading from my hand. Something moved in the closet, slow, deliberate, a shifting weight. A sound like bare feet turning carefully on wood. I stared into that widening crack, and for the first time, I whispered the truth I'd been avoiding since the moment I came back to this house. I don't know how to stop this. A breath, hers, drifted from the darkness, brushing my cheek like a cold apology or a colder accusation. You will? A hand, pale, trembling, unmistakably human, slipped into view through the crack. And I'm going to show you how. The closet door groaned as it began to open inch by inch, revealing the figure inside. The door didn't swing open all at once. It eased forward, slow, steady, deliberate, like whatever was inside wanted me to feel every second of it. The wood scraped softly over the floor, the sound thin and sharp enough to dig into my spine. Her hand was still visible, thin, colorless, motionless. But the fingers twitched once, like a warning, like a beckoning. I couldn't move. Every instinct screamed to run, but my legs were locked. My breath shallow, and ragged as the crack widened enough to show her silhouette. At first, it didn't look human. Too still, too straight, too silent. Then the shape tilted its head jerky, as if the neck wasn't used to bending anymore. A sliver of her face appeared behind the darkness, lit only by the faint glow from my phone. She looked like a memory cracked in half. Her skin held the damp, washed-out gray of something left too long in the cold. Her hair hung in ratty strings over her face. And her eyes, God, her eyes weren't angry. They weren't even accusing. They were empty, hollow in a way that felt worse than hate. She stepped forward. One barefoot step onto the wooden floor of my bedroom. The boards groaned under her weight, and the sound felt wrong, like the room itself didn't want her there but couldn't stop her. I squeezed the lamp until my fingers hurt. Wait. My voice barely worked. Please. She stopped, her head tilted again, sharper this time, like she was studying me, trying to understand something I didn't even understand myself. Then she spoke, but it wasn't her voice. It was the voicemail. Her final words repeated, in the same breaking tone, as though someone else was playing them from inside her. You heard me, and you did nothing. I didn't know, I whispered. I didn't know it was you. The lamp flickered. Her body jerked once like a puppet pulled by a string, and the lamp burst with a soft pop, plunging the room into darkness. I stumbled backward, breathing fast, my heartbeat slamming against my ribs. In the pitch black, I heard her footsteps, soft, slow, closing the distance between us. One step, another, a third. Don't, I whispered. Don't come closer. The footsteps stopped right in front of me. Her breath chilled my cheek. Then a hand, icy, wet, trembling, grabbed my wrist. I gasped and tried to pull away, but her grip tightened with unnatural strength. She leaned close, her voice barely held together. You can't leave me again. I forced my eyes open, letting whatever faint moonlight crept through the curtains shape her outline. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking past me toward the window, her expression twisted. Fear, real fear. Hide, she whispered. Her fingers dug painfully into my wrist. They're coming. I didn't have time to ask who. Outside the window, the shadows shifted, not hers, not human. Something else was in the yard. Multiple shapes. Watching. Waiting. And every single one of them turned their heads toward my window at the same time.